So this happens a lot. I'll contact an event and they say, we already have our speakers lined up. So what do you do about it?
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue. It is something you are.
So I sent an email out to this tech event, this technology event, and they basically said, hey, we already got our speakers lined up. So what did I do? And what should you do about it when they already have all the speakers lined up? Or the event is literally just right around the corner. You know they have their speakers lined up. So what do you do about it? So first off, let me tell you the timeline. The timeline of this was in 2015 is when I first contacted them. And when I first contacted them, they said, hey, we got all our speakers lined up. And I'm like, I don't care. That's actually what really does go on inside of my head. But basically, they said we don't have room right now, and I already knew this because the event was literally just coming up within, I think it was like a month from the time I contacted them. And what happened after that was I just kept in touch. So it doesn't matter if they have the speakers lined up. I simply put into the CRM, follow up with them, follow up. And the CRM would just remind me when to follow up with them. It's important to understand the difference between outbound marketing and inbound marketing. With inbound, everyone wants inbound. Everyone wants to create the content and then the gigs just come to them. With outbound, you essentially reach out to them and you're constantly following up. And the money is made in the follow-up. I've had so many people tell me like, hey man, I've been contacting people, but nothing's really happening. And they've only been contacting people for like 2-3 weeks or a month max. And in reality, it happens over time. Like this tech event, it was literally last year when we talked. And I've just been following up with them ever since. And just recently, they said, okay, let's bring you in. And that's how it happens. It happens over time. The money is made in the follow-up. So a lot of times with the events, when I contact them, I know they're going to say a couple things. Number one, we already have our speakers, or two, oh, the event just passed. So it's already things like that. And what I learned with sales is that you bring up the objection first. So you say, you bring up the objection, that way they can't bring up the objection because you already said it. So it's literally, it's like in the 8 Mile movie with Eminem where he was rapping and he brought up all the objections. He was like, and I'm a weirdo, I'm a blah, blah, blah. And then the other guy couldn't really say anything because he took the words out of his mouth. That's essentially what sales is about. You essentially bring up the objections first so they can't bring it up anymore. And now you can focus their attention where you want to focus them at, or where you want to focus it on. And with contacting them, I essentially, if I know an event is coming up, let's say 2 weeks from now, if I know their event is coming up in 2 weeks, I'll contact them. I'll reach out with outbound. And I'll say, hey, I know your event is coming up within 2 weeks, but, and I'll say things like that. Okay, or I know you just recently had an event 3 weeks ago, but, and I'll bring it up before they can bring it up. Because if I don't, what's going to happen is I'll send them an email, I'll contact them, and then they'll say, oh yeah, but our event is just now coming up. We already have all our speakers good to go. Or I'll contact them and they'll say, oh, we just had our event. And then it's kind of like conversation over. Versus if I say, hey, I noticed you guys just had an event June 18th, but, and then I kind of go from there. That's how you do the outbound marketing. That's how you're going to be contacting people. So the way you're going to make money, the way you're going to get on more stages, the way you're going to increase your marketing, the way you're going to just make more money in general is to make sure you're always doing the follow-up. That's where the money is made. When I contacted this tech event last year, I always followed up with them. I knew that they had the speakers lined up. And by the way, that's a good sign. If they say we already have our speakers lined up, most people think, oh man, dang it, that's it. Whereas I just think like, oh, perfect. That signals to me that they pay speakers. That means that I can actually make money from this event. So if someone says they already have people lined up, that lets me know, hey, that's a good sign. So just make sure you bring up the objections first. Make sure you're always following up. That's where the money is made. It's made in the follow-up, nowhere else. The first point of contact is I mean, it's just like when you're talking with someone, it's just like saying hi. That's the first point of contact. You build a relationship over time by keep talking, where you keep talking to the person and you just keep saying like, hey, how's it going? And that's where all the money is made, in the follow-up.